Please welcome to the stage three-time graduate of American University and teammate to Frank, Mr. Eric Alda.
Well, good evening, family and friends. I feel like I'm at the Oscars, so I took up my notes. So it is a great honor to be here in my home. As you may have heard, I've been a lifer. I got my undergrad, my master's, and my PhD at AU. So it's nice to, yes, very nice, to give a speech about Frank, right? And it's nice to see a lot of people that I haven't seen for many years, former teammates, athletes, etc., right? So some of you may wonder, who am I, right? So my name is Eric Alda, and I was a former teammate, one of his biggest rivals, and boy, were we rivals at the time. Think of it as Luke Skywalker, and I was Darth Vader. And there was a lot of competition. But a few months ago, I get a LinkedIn message from Frank, and because why not, right? All people nowadays connect through LinkedIn, right? So it's like our Tinder. So he says, hey, Eric, how you doing? Long time no talk. You know, Michelle and I, who's here as well, we were talking about you, and I would like to talk to you and ask for a favor. I'm like, wow, this guy wants to race me again? I said, didn't he have enough 25 years ago? So I call him, and he says, yeah, I'm being inducted in the Hall of Fame. I would like you to give an introduction speech. And part of me was honored, right? I mean, this is a huge thing to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. But also part of me was a bit disappointed that he did not want to raise me to show him who's boss once again, right? But, I accepted, and this was the hard part for me because what was I going to say about Frank after all these years, right? So I had to reminisce, 25 years ago, our time here at American University. But let me give you a bit of history and a bit of comparison, right? So Frank and I joined AU around the mid-90s, okay, late 90s. I had transferred from the University of Nebraska. It's probably the best decision I had made. Don't ask me why. And he had come from Denmark. So we became fierce rivals very quickly. Like there was a lot of competition in practice, during races in dual meets, at conference championships. And it got so intense that our freshman year, the university and the team had to create two different awards, right? So you had the university award at the end of the season, and then the team award, so we were able to at least acknowledge our success in the pool, right? Which made things even more competitive, right? Because who gets to get which one, right? But I think that rivalry made us better as swimmers. It made us respect each other even more. We were a group of guys, the Danes, the Swedes, the Spaniards. There were people from Trinidad and Tobago, obviously our American teammates. And for us Europeans, despite having had a lot of success swimming in our country, we came here and we still wanted to compete and at the same time get a good education. And AU provided that for us, right? So we were so competitive that I think it made the AU swim team a powerhouse, right? And I think that was really good. Frank and I were very different as athletes, but to this day we managed to share one thing. So let me tell you a few of the difference, right? So Frank was the cerebral person, always focused on technique. I have to admit, he probably still has one of the most beautiful freestyle strokes you've ever seen. I was more like the feeling the water kind of guy, Frank is Danish, which means that everything is competition, right? I mean, after all, there are 5 million people, so, they always want to be on top of the world or something, and they are, right? I'm from Spain, so that kind of tells you pretty much everything, right? Fiesta and siesta. Fiesta, not so much, but the siesta, I'm still, perfecting that at this age, right? But Frank is sort of the quintessential student athlete, right? He was very smart, still is. I mean, after all, he's a financial advisor now. Very competitive. I mean, look at him now. He's still fit as a bull. I am also still very fit. The only difference is the glasses and the beer. Don't get carried away, yeah? I'm sure Frank can still fit his 24 size swimsuit. For those of you who are not familiar with swimming, 24 size is like a size 0. I can still fit my swimsuit on my head. But, I think the only thing that and I think it's a good thing that we share in common is respect for each other, and also that after 20 plus years in this country, we still manage to keep our thick accents when we speak English, right? So Frank speaks, English with a thick Danish accent, and I'll tell you why. So if you ever go have a coffee with him at Starbucks, ask him to order a cortado, right? Instead of saying cortado, you say cortado. And after 20 plus years, they say country instead of country, right? But that's a good thing to keep, our roots active, right? Another interesting thing is when I retired, I became a coach for 1 year. So that was like, good, now I get to tell him what to do, right? And of course, he can't yell back at me as we did in practice because, I'm his coach. And that was hard for me as well because after having swum with him for 4 years and competing against him, all of a sudden you are going to be his coach and, how are you going to make him better, right? We didn't need much. I think that respect that we developed throughout our careers made a very easy relationship and very, very easy transition for me. And I think that year was a very successful year. We ended up winning the conference championships. So that was, a really fun time, at least for me, and I hope for you too. So being inducted in the Hall of Fame after so many years, 20 plus years at our age and our circumstances, right, is also really good because you reminisce about the good old days, especially, when you go up to the third floor of your house, out of breath, and say, wow, I used to swim 10K every day, and then swim, and now I can't even get, up the stairs without, having to catch my breath. But, feel proud for yourself. But in retrospect, although I did hate that kind of perfect Danishness, I guess his Danishness rubbed off on me. I mean, after all, I ended up marrying a Dane, and I have a Danish grandson, which you can imagine, blonde, blue-eyed, right? Speaking of Denmark, Frank's parents came all the way from Jutland. So it's nice to have them. And so as a way to honor them, Frank, I, for the first time, gonna speak publicly in Danish. So I am going to butcher your language. It's a beautiful language, but wow, if my wife was here, she would be reconsidering our marriage. But anyways, Frank, here it goes, huh? So Frank, tusind tak. This was the easy part. There we go. Frank, tusind tak for at invitere mig til denne vigtige begivenhed, så kompliceret, begivenhed om Gødel af dine kære. Du fortjener det så meget, og jeg er meget stolt af dig. Tillykke. The translation means that, hey, you've been inducted in the Hall of Fame, but I will still beat you. Maybe I said that, maybe I didn't say that. You might want to ask him. So now that the embarrassment is over, it is my distinct honor to present to you Frank Byskov as the new inductee in the Cassell Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Frank. You got it.
Let's try to switch out the microphone here and see if we can fix this. All right, that one's on, that one off. Check 1, 2. Okay, let's try this, and hopefully now everyone can hear you. All right, let's go with this. Thank you. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. I asked the right person to introduce me. It has been amazing. This is such an amazing honor to be here in front of you all and become part of this group of people, all tremendously talented. It's more than I could ever have imagined. First, thanks to my family, friends, teammates, coaches, and my parents for making this trip here to celebrate with me. It has been quite a journey. I came to AU back in '97, to be exact. My first trip ever outside mainland Europe. One of my first flights, even. The heat and humidity that hit me at Dulles that August day, I still remember. It was just a wall I had never experienced before. Now, swimming is in essence an individual sport, but the team aspect, as Eric alluded to as well, should not be underestimated. I have been so fortunate to have had amazing teammates. They're both training partners, competitors, friends, and foes. Some all at once or at some point in our relationship. But through it all, we pushed each other to be better, to move forward, both in the pool and in the classroom. And as an alum, one of the things that really makes me proud is the long and uninterrupted streak of academic accolades the team has received. I think it's 58 consecutive semesters of academic All-American. Being a small part of that definitely makes me proud, and as an alum, it warms your heart. My freshman year, the team was going through a bit of a transition with a new coach, and we're a pretty small team. I think 7, 8 guys my freshman year. A full team is 18, so we were pretty small. And at some point, we had more foreigners than Americans. Interesting for a school with this name. Others may have picked up on that as well. At the conference championship, as you're being presented for the finals, the top seed in the event gets to choose the song that plays as you walk in and gets presented. This was the end of the meet. It had been a pretty good meet for so far. Now it's the mile. 15 minutes of pure bliss. Or pain, depending. I was seated second, and the top seed, who was the defending champion, he chose a song most of you will be familiar with, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. I think it's an amazing song, although I took it as a little bit of a personal attack. Definitely got me fired up, had a great battle. I ended up winning. But more than 20 years later, it's definitely something I remember. That rivalry between the teams and within the team as well is what makes this for such a wonderful experience. And the many flags that, if you've been to the pool lately, you see flags all around the pool deck from all the different nationalities that have been part of the swim team over the years. And this international flavor is what makes AU special in general. And you meet people from all over the world, creating unique experiences and finding new viewpoints, no matter where you look. And being an international student myself, I always felt welcomed. And meeting people in similar situations or being able to enlighten them as to there's a world outside the US. And that has been a fun part as well. Many swimmers over the years get tired of looking at the black line at the bottom of the pool. Personally, I've never really noticed it. It's more as a guiding tool. But instead, I focused on the feel of the water surrounding me, the sounds and the exhaustion you get to love when you're swimming longer distances. So the day-to-day process of reaching a higher level was what truly was the driving force. The competition was fine, but the day-to-day was what drove me. And that focus on the journey is one I still follow today, and I think a lot of student athletes do as well. And one of the things that is such a tremendous experience to bring with you on as you go on in your life. Now, I use the same as a small business owner, financial advisor. If I do each step correctly, I set myself and my clients up for long-term success. You can't control what or who shows up along the way, but if you position yourself, create good forward motion, you can pivot and still progress towards the end goal at the end of the pool and back and forth. So now, one of the things, and I think Eric remembers this one as well, one of the things that I truly remember with a smile is what was called the get-out swim. As it says, it was when the team was maybe getting a little worn down and kind of want to end the practice early. So after some hefty negotiation or pleading with Coach Davin, sometimes he caved in. We could end practice as long as a certain race was completed at a certain time. And for some unknown reason, I often ended up taking on the challenge. The first couple of years, the challenge was relatively doable, and it was fun to get up and race in front of the teammates and with the whole team cheering. And most of the time, we got out early, jumped in the hot tub. But the more challenges that were completed, the harder they got. I managed some of my fastest ever practice performances were in those get-out swims because the team depended on me. If nothing else, take long enough that practice would almost be over anyways. So it's definitely a fun, maybe very swimming specific thing, but something I truly enjoyed. There's always been a lot of support between the athletes, both within the teams, but also between the various teams. And I think these friendships that build, I can see so many familiar, friendly faces here that I've come across over the years. And it's a big part of the benefit of being a student athlete. Personally, I enjoyed watching and hang out with the volleyball team. I guess the tallest women's team on campus has its attractions. And Ashley is still one of my biggest supporters. Now we'll see if the next generation will be a volleyball player, a swimmer, or something completely different. Now, as the most senior of the class, it was fitting I got to go first. It is past time for the early bird special, but now I get to sit down and enjoy the rest of this amazing class. So thank you all.